the job doesn't get done. But anyway, I think it's a trial run. Just like you said, Alex, from the very beginning, it looked like a hoax. We were wondering whether it was genetically specific. In other words, was it pointed towards Latin Americans? I don't think we came to any conclusion on that, did we?
No, but the one death in the U.S. was a 23-month-old Mexican national baby, a boy who'd been premature, had lung problems his whole life, and they brought him here for treatment, and he died. So no deaths, but meanwhile I have these internal state reports where they're fear-mongering from 3 days ago and saying we're going to level 6 and all this, which they're now announcing that they're probably going to do, but that we were already at level 6. But certainly I've been saying this looks like a hoax from the beginning, but there is the danger that they could use this for martial law. And Bob, Chrysler going under 2 days ago, all of this unfolding, all of this happening, the economic numbers coming in, a contraction of 6.1%. It appears the deterioration of the economy is accelerating. This is another nice distraction from that, isn't it?
It certainly is. And if you notice as well, the Working Group in Financial Markets had a meeting with Mr. Geithner yesterday, who's the Treasury Secretary. And, of course, their meetings are secret, so you don't know what they're rigging. But they've been rigging the stock market, and they've been driving the price of gold and silver down during this crisis so that people wouldn't think there was anything wrong in that area. This is a well-coordinated effort to test this martial law concept, and we haven't seen the end of it yet. I think they've run out of most of their ammunition, and they'll learn something from it, but I don't think they're accomplishing what they wanted to do. I think there's too many people out there, even on Fox, who would talk about the rights of the average American, and that is important. And
well, Bob, I heartily agree with you.
Good.
Exactly, I agree with you, and that's what we were saying Saturday on the emergency transmission I did when they were really starting to hype this, is that if this isn't a serious flu, and if this is hype, which we said it probably was then, we hoped, and we still hope, and we're not out of the woods completely yet, we'll know in the next few days. We start seeing a bunch of deaths in the U.S., then this could be serious. But, I mean, usually a flu kills thousands anyways. That'll be normal. Can you imagine if they're shutting the whole country down in police state for one death, what 50 deaths would do, which is completely normal? But side issue there, you know, again, it's not that this is even real. It's that they're making it real. But Napolitano, the head of Homeland Security, Janet comes out, the one putting out reports saying the veterans are terrorists and gun owners are terrorists, and she says, well, this may peter out in a few weeks, but another big one is coming very soon. There will be a pandemic. So I agree with you. As the economy falls apart, I think I know we're seeing a beta test of what they're going to do to try to sell their overall agenda and keep themselves in power. Oh, you're trying to arrest the bankers? You're trying to take Congress back? Then they'll release a real bioweapon, and then that'll be their cover for martial law.
Yeah, I think you're right. And at the same time, they'll probably crank up the invasion of Pakistan, and they may allow Israel to attack Iran as well. They'll have it all going up in the air at the same time.
And then that way people just kind of go into a catatonic state. They've done psychological tests with dogs, guinea pigs, rats, and humans now, where they put you in a cage and shock you. And, you know, there's one of the cases is where they have rats in a rat maze, and they just keep shocking them until the rat finally just gives up and stays in one spot and dies, the one spot where he's not being shocked. And they've done the test where they'll have a puppy in a cage. The Marines have done this test and published it. And it's learned helplessness, as a caller pointed out one time. I'd seen the study, but they reminded me of this. And every time the dog comes over to eat, he gets shocked. And there's one little spot in the cage where he doesn't get shocked. And after trying 10 or 15 times, he'll go over and get in the corner and die and lay down and take it. And I agree. When they finally make their total move, which we see all this preparation for, and the world government being announced, and the police state and troops at checkpoints, and announcing martial law may come for your safety, when they finally make the jump, it's going to be everything at once. What are we going to see, do you think, Bob?
I don't know. I don't know what the reaction of the public's going to be, and the longer they wait, the better it is. And the reason I say that is that the worse the financial and economic situation is going to be. If they would have to or would hold off for another year and a half or so, or 2 years to do that, that would be very good, because there should be 35% unemployment by then. And there's going to be an awful lot of very unhappy people under bridges.
And so our strength, our chance to take the government back gets better and better the longer they wait. I hate to be giving them this advice, but I know they're smart. They've already figured this out, Bob.
Yeah, they sure have. And they've made a lot of mistakes. And things pop up every day, like these scandals with Madoff, and now it's all over CNBC this morning that Geithner's not making the decisions. Rahm Emanuel is, and of course he works for Israel as well as the president. And, the people are getting sick of this. And then if you take away their freedom and you take away their ability to work and make a living and not have to live under some austere circumstances, you get the seeds of revolution. And I'll tell you something, I don't think we're going to be able to hold the people back. They're not going to get away with this.
Have you seen the new, speaking of the administration, the new People magazine came out with Obama's beauties, and they talk about how sexy and beautiful Rahm Emanuel is, how sexy and beautiful Geithner is. I mean, soon will these guys be like sitting on thrones and royal robes with crowns? I mean, and openly ruling us? I mean, how ridiculous is it that all these criminal oligarchs running our nations are just publicly robbing everyone right now? I mean, how much more degrading does it have to get?
I think it has to get a lot more on the psychology, because the American people don't want to really pull the trigger on their own government. They're thinking that they might have to, but it's very, very distasteful. I mean, even for somebody like me who's been in the trenches for almost 50 years. But economics, an empty belly, this is what's going to motivate people. People being told, well, your children have to go over that school over there in Chicago, and you're going to be in a camp in Arizona, and your wife's going to be working in New York City. I think finally they'll wake up.
And that's what they're announcing on the news. Oh, we're going to tell you where you work and what you do, and we're going to forcibly inject you. It's the new freedom for your safety. One person died, so America has to end.
We were covering this in 1966, 67, and 68. All the plans were laid out then. It was called regional government.
And they now admit it is the regional governments that are in control and under the United Nations control. The Congress is ceremonial. I mean, it's in Reuters and AP that the UN is directing the U.S., Mexican, and other nations' responses. And the SPP documents for the North American Union came out, and they say they're going to use flu crises to bring in the NAU. They wrote that 3 years ago, Bob.
That's right. See, we got a war on a multiplicity of fronts. They're all over the place. I mean, you look at my publication twice a week, the links, look at your site, the things that you've got on there. There's one problem after another. And we cover them closely, and we can't really even adequately cover them during the course of a week.
Hey, why do you think we got massive, sustained, multiple denial of service attacks over our CDNs at our servers? And then when we would switch out so they couldn't hit the servers, they would just hit the entire facilities, clearly governmental. I mean, doesn't the government know that just makes everybody want to visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that much more, and that basically underlines and certifies what we're doing?
It's an occupational hazard for them, and they think in their arrogance that they're more powerful and much smarter than we are, and the sheeple out there will listen to them and not us. The factor here, the swing factor, is the economy, which they have deliberately denigrated worldwide in order to bring about world government. But at the same time, when they do that, they bring people down to this savage level, if you may. And they know that they're creating a problem. Well, that could creating the condition that they want. It's just like interest rates. The Treasury needs them higher to